Have you ever been around a baby who just will not settle? Or maybe a toddler bouncing off the walls? That feeling parents get, that desperate urge for a quick fix, especially for sleep?
Oh.
It's powerful.
Oh, absolutely. Completely understandable.
But what if that fix, that quick solution, wasn't innocent? What if it carried, well, really profound, even irreversible risks, shaping a whole life in ways nobody planned?
That's a heavy thought.
It is, and that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking closely at the medication carbamazepine, specifically the significant dangers when it's given to infants, babies under 1 year old.
Right.
And we're digging into this really concerning case from our source material, an 8-month-old infant reportedly given carbamazepine. But get this, without an epilepsy diagnosis, just for sleep problems or maybe being perceived as, quote, hyperactive.
Yeah, that's immediately a red flag. So for this deep dive, we're pulling together findings from, well, quite a few places. Medical studies, statistics, but also real-world clinical experience.
Okay.
The idea is to really lay bare not just the immediate dangers, the things you might see quickly, but also those profound long-term impacts.
Yeah.
Functional, emotional.
Yeah.
Connecting those dots is crucial here.
Right. So our mission today is really to peel back all those layers. We're talking neurodevelopmental damage, yes, but also these unexpected links. Things like autism, ADHD, even bipolar disorder, potentially.
And how behavior gets misinterpreted.
Exactly. How misinterpreting behavior, especially in crisis moments, can lead to some truly traumatic consequences. So, okay, let's anchor this. That specific scenario from the sources. The 8-month-old infant given carbamazepine.
Yeah.
The reasons given. Difficulty sleeping or maybe perceived hyperactive behaviors. But the absolute key detail the sources stresses. No solid clinical justification. Zero diagnosis of epilepsy to back it up.
And that's critical. This isn't just, a minor oversight. It's a decision that can have truly grave, lasting consequences. We're talking about something that could impact the child's entire developmental trajectory. It goes way beyond a typical side effect.
Okay, let's get into those tangible medical dangers first. The sources lay out this pattern, neurodevelopmental and cognitive deterioration. It's quite stark.
It is.
Think about a drug that maybe even at what seems like a moderate dose just subtly chips away at a child's basic ability to learn, to remember.
Yeah, the research points to exactly that. Studies on older kids, average age nearly 10,
Okay.
who are getting carbamazepine as their only medication monotherapy, they showed a documented decrease in learning efficiency and also short-term working memory.
Wow. And how does that translate to infants? Because direct studies on babies must be rare.
They are scarce, absolutely. But that's where the concern gets really profound. Early exposure, when the brain is developing so rapidly, it raises huge alarms. We're talking about potential impacts on synaptogenesis.
Which is?
Basically, the forming of connections between neurons. The absolute bedrock of brain development.
Yeah.
And other critical processes, too. For language, for attention, for learning how to manage emotions. You disrupt that early on.
The consequences could be huge. And the sources don't stop there with the physical stuff, right? They mention other issues.
That's right. Whole range, actually. Endocytosis, that's where red blood cells are different sizes. Chronic anemia over time.
Yeah.
Persistent headaches. And these aren't just minor headaches. They can apparently escalate into cluster headaches. Extremely painful.
Ooh.
Add chronic fatigue, widespread pain. You can see how this really starts to impact schooling, functioning, even later in adult life.
Definitely. Okay, and then there's this troubling link to autism you mentioned.
Yes. This is a really important point emerging from the findings. The suggestion is that early carbamazepine exposure might actually trigger or worsen autism spectrum manifestations, specifically in kids who might already have a predisposition.
How? What's the mechanism thought to be?
Well, the sources point to specific neurological findings. Things like changes in how the two hemispheres of the brain connect, sometimes seen as chronic low voltage in one hemisphere on an EEG, and also structural or functional changes in the amygdala. That's a key brain region for processing social cues and emotions. So you can see the potential link there.
Yeah, absolutely. And moving beyond the brain, bone health. That seems unexpected.
It does, but there's a clear mechanism. Carbamazepine induces or ramps up certain liver enzymes, cytochrome P450.
Okay.
And these enzymes break down vitamin D faster. Less vitamin D means less calcium absorption.
Ah, okay. And for kids?
Well, in pediatric studies, they see lower bone mineral density, increased rates of osteopenia, even rickets. Now think about an infant. Their bones are mineralizing incredibly fast. Messing with that process without very strict supplementation and monitoring It can be critical.
Right, critical. Okay, what about blood health? You mentioned anemia, but are there other risks?
Yes, there's the risk of bone marrow suppression. That's where the factory for blood cells slows down.
That sounds serious.
It can be. It can lead to aplastic anemia, a severe drop in all blood cells, a granulocytosis, a dangerous lack of specific white blood cells, and also temporary dips called transient cytopenias, which might affect up to 5% of patients.
5%. That's not insignificant.
No. And while the severe conditions like aplastic anemia are rare, they are potentially life-threatening if not caught early. It's a major consideration.
And the liver itself, you mentioned the enzymes.
Right. The liver is definitely involved.
Mm.
The sources note that maybe up to 10% of kids on the drug show elevated liver enzymes, and about 1 to 2% actually develop clinical hepatitis.
Okay.
And again, for infants, the risk is potentially higher. Their liver enzyme systems aren't fully mature yet, so the drug might hang around longer in their bodies. Its half-life is prolonged.
Increasing the risk of toxicity.
Exactly. Significantly increasing the risk of chronic liver toxicity.
Wow. Okay, and one more major medical risk list, skin reactions.
Yes, and these can be incredibly severe. We're talking about Stevens-Johnson syndrome, SJS, and
Yeah.
toxic epidermal necrolysis, TATN. These are potentially devastating conditions.
How common are they?
Overall, rare, but the sources highlight a truly alarming statistic. In certain Asian populations, the incidence can be as high as 1 in 500.
1 in 500. That's staggering.
It is, and it's why there's a specific recommendation now. For people in those at-risk groups, testing for a genetic marker, the HLA-BRD502 allele, is advised before even starting the treatment.
A crucial preventative step.
Absolutely, it flags that predisposition.
Okay, so we've covered these really stark medical dangers. But the impact doesn't stop there, does it? The sources talk about this whole other layer of functional, social, emotional fallout.
That's right. This is where it gets incredibly complex and often tragically overlooked. Let's talk about ADHD.
ADHD, so autism and ADHD co-occurring.
Exactly. For individuals navigating that, life is often a constant internal struggle. Think about it. Difficulty regulating attention and energy, plus frequent sensory overloads. It's exhausting.
I can only imagine.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, it helps explain why there's such a significantly increased risk of anxiety, depression, and sadly, suicidal behaviors. The suicide rates are already alarmingly high in the autistic community.
Right.
But add in the complexities of ADHD, and that risk climbs even higher. The sources really emphasize this devastating reality.
And then if you layer bipolar I onto that already complex picture.
Then you add another dimension entirely. Extreme emotional peaks and troughs, even more severe sleep disturbances often, and a heightened vulnerability to suicidal crises when bipolar I coexists with autism and ADHD. It's an incredibly challenging constellation of conditions.
Which leads to this issue of misinterpretation you mentioned earlier, how crises can be misunderstood.
Yes, and this is profoundly concerning. An
Mhm.
autistic meltdown, or maybe an emotional shutdown. These are fundamentally neurological, sensory-driven events, but they can be tragically mistaken for something like a manic episode.
And the consequences of that mistake.
Severe. We're talking about potential involuntary psychiatric confinement, sometimes violent physical restraint,
Yeah.
and just a fundamental lack of understanding about what's actually happening to the person.
It sounds incredibly traumatic.
It absolutely is. Experiences like that inflict deep, lasting trauma. And, understandably, they reinforce the need for masking.
Masking. Let's talk about that. The sources bring this up as a key concept. What exactly is it and what's the cost?
Masking essentially is a survival strategy. It's when neurodivergent individuals learn, often unconsciously at first, to camouflage their autistic or ADHD traits. They try to perform neurotypical behaviors to fit in, to avoid rejection or negative attention.
Okay.
What's particularly challenging, according to the research, is that in individuals with higher IQs, say above 130, this masking can become incredibly sophisticated, very hard to detect from the outside,
Leading to
huge delays in diagnosis, sometimes decades. People might not get diagnosed until their 30s, 40s, even 50s or later.
decades. Wow. And the cost of doing that for so long.
Immense mental exhaustion. It takes a huge toll, constantly monitoring yourself, suppressing natural instincts, trying to interpret and perform social norms that don't come intuitively. The risk of burnout, of complete collapse is very real. The sources really stress this hidden burden.
The sources also mention some, well, surprising coping mechanisms alongside that exhaustion. Humor, for instance.
Yes, using humor sometimes as a way to deflect from intense internal suffering. But also, more distressingly, the practice of self-harm.
Self-harm, even from a young age.
Sometimes, yes. Not necessarily with suicidal intent, but as a way to self-regulate overwhelming anxiety or sensory input. The sources give specific examples, like biting hands during sensory overload, or hitting oneself, or applying deep pressure.
Why? What does that do?
It's thought to be an attempt to sort of reset the sensory system, to provide a strong, predictable sensation that overrides the chaotic, overwhelming input. It's often linked directly to coexisting sensory overload and these things called dysesthesia.
Versus these has.
Yeah, basically abnormal sensations, like a constant agonizing feeling of burning or tingling or pain from light touch. Imagine dealing with that constantly. The self-harm can be a desperate attempt to manage that internal chaos.
That puts a very different light on those behaviors. It also seems like all this information really helps challenge some common stereotypes about autism.
Absolutely. That's a crucial takeaway. The stereotype of the withdrawn individual who avoids all eye contact and maybe doesn't speak, that's only one possible presentation.
Right.
Many autistic individuals, especially those who mask effectively, can appear very sociable. They might initiate interactions, make friends, but the sources clarify that maintaining those connections is often profoundly difficult.
Why is that?
Often due to underlying feelings of isolation, maybe difficulty processing social nuances in real time, or an intense need for routine and predictability, which makes spontaneous socializing hard. An inability to tolerate interruptions or unforeseen changes can really impact relationships. It's often a much more complex and sometimes lonely social reality than it looks from the outside.
So bringing this all together, the core warning from our sources, particularly aimed at parents, seems crystal clear.
It is starkly clear. Carbamazepine is absolutely, categorically not a sedative for a restless baby. It's not a treatment for hyperactivity without a confirmed diagnosis like epilepsy.
Prescribing it without that clear neurological reason.
Exposes that child to severe, potentially irreversible risks. Risks that, as we've discussed, can echo through their entire life medically, functionally, emotionally.
Yeah.
But, this raises another important point, flipping it slightly. It's about resilience. What about the people who don't get diagnosed as infants, who maybe go through decades of struggle and then receive a diagnosis of autism or ADHD much later in life, maybe in their 40s, 50s, or even older?
What do the sources say about them?
They deliver a really powerful, validating message. It highlights their incredible, profound resilience. Think about it. Surviving for decades, often without any appropriate support, navigating systems that fundamentally misunderstood them, battling misunderstandings, maybe misdiagnoses, facing daily silent struggles. Their ability to just keep going, to build lives, despite those immense headwinds. That strength, that resilience, deserves just profound validation and recognition. It's truly remarkable.
That's a really important perspective to end on. So it leaves us with this final thought, doesn't it? How our evolving understanding of neurodiversity, when it's combined with really careful, evidence-based medical decisions, how that can completely change life trajectories for the better.
Absolutely.
And it makes you wonder, what deeper insights are still out there? What more can we learn about the human brain, about behavior, about supporting everyone to thrive that goes even beyond what we've uncovered today?